Africa messed up because of like white people. Women are oppressed because of white people. You know, we have poverty because of white men. We have slavery because of white men. Like, every single problem is white men.
Hi Yeonmi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for accepting my invitation.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored and excited.
I heard about you since quite a long time ago, and I'm sure most of my French followers know about you thanks to your book, In Order to Live, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, thankfully, it's amazing how even, you know, French people care about North Korean human rights issue.
Maybe for those who don't know you, could you please just tell us a bit about you?
Yep, so my name is Yeonmi Park. I'm a North Korean de facto human rights activist. I live in America right now, and all day long I spend my time to free North Korea from Kim Jong-un.
Okay. And maybe, can you tell us how and why did you escape from North Korea to live in America?
So when I was escaping, of course, I had no clue, you know, I was going to end up in America at all. It was the initial motivation was just pure starvation. I was very hungry, and, you know, before you die, you gotta do something, right? And which was, I was thankfully living on the border town of North Korea. And I saw these lights coming from Chinese side. And I thought maybe if I go where the lights were, I might be able to find a bowl of rice. And that's how I escaped. And that journey led me to America. So it was a long journey.
And can you tell us, how did you feel at first living in a free country when you first arrived in America?
I experienced freedom before. Actually, you're in South Korea right now. So I went to China, and 2 years later, I escaped through Gobi Desert to Mongolia. From Mongolia, I went to South Korea. And after living in South Korea for 5 years, I came to America to study at Columbia University in New York. So my first freedom moment was definitely South Korea.
And how did it feel? Did you feel free as you expected, or?
All I remember was how hard it was to be free. I was scared, I was exhausted. Because in North Korea, you never need to think for yourself, right? Government tell you what to do. Your fate is determined before you were born. But now, suddenly in South Korea, people were asking me, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, do I have to know? You know? So like, I was like, maybe I want to go to university, then what do you want to study? Then like, how do I decide my major? And everything was individual choice. But in North Korea, everything was determined by the regime. Depending on your parents, you know, the status, the family status, determine which university you go. The regime tells you what major to study. The regime tells you how to wear your clothes. So even going to South Korea, when you buy these like shorts, there are like 10, 20 different types of shorts. In North Korea, you don't have to think about it. You know the one type of shirt that is allowed to wear. It was really overwhelming in the beginning to adjust freedom. Yeah.
And recently, many articles came out regarding what you said, regarding woke and cancel culture, specifically in America, being in some way even worse than North Korean propaganda, especially in top US universities. Could you tell us a bit about your personal experience in Columbia?
So for me, until I went to Columbia University, safe place meant where you do not persecuted for having different opinions. It's a place where you can talk about your field, especially the university setting. We go there to learn how to think. In the university, you should be wrong and be like learning how to think, right? But when I went to Columbia University, the reality was so oppressive that before the classroom, they talk about this hate speech, right? The things that you cannot talk about. People just get triggered for every little single thing. The university was promoting this culture of making people feel like victims and oppressed. And also the anti-West sentiment was so high. I literally thought, am I in North Korean classroom or like actually in America? In North Korea, they blame like, you know, 미국놈, like American bastards, right? They say, we are poor because of American bastards. We don't have electricity because of American bastards. Every single thing is because of American bastards. And then I go into America, and in the classroom, Africa messed up because of like white people. Women are oppressed because of white people. You know, we have poverty because of white men. We have slavery because of white men. Every single problem is white men. So the narrative was so same. There's no nuance, there's no context. And that's when I thought, in North Korea, you have to be brainwashed, otherwise you get executed. But in America, they are voluntarily choosing to be brainwashed. While there's no gun pointing at you, these people decide collectively want to be brainwashed.
Okay. And do you have any, I don't know, personal experience where you gave your opinion on something and you got, I don't know, even scolded or you offended someone?
Yeah, I mean, many occasions. I remember before every class now, Columbia says like, oh, tell us your pronouns. So now in this, like, let's think about a big lecture hall, like 120 people, 150 people, even like, 90 people in the lecture room. Before they tell you, you know them as individuals, you need to remember their pronouns. Some of them are gender fluid. So 1 second they feel like I'm a boy, but next hour I meet them, they feel like girl. How can I possibly know their feelings all the time, right? And then they say like, why don't you call me just they? And I learned English such a later age, as an adult. Using pronouns, even when I call like he and she, is very confusing sometimes. And I called him. And it was biological male, but he was gender fluid, so wanted to be they. And he was crying. And like, how can you do this to me? And I'm like, it wasn't like my intentions. Like, English is not my natural language. And just seeing these kids, I mean, they're like young adults. Their biggest problem in life is called being in the wrong pronoun. It was just so heartbreaking. I don't even blame them. They made to think they should, almost like entitled to feel that they should be offended for every single little thing, right? It was so disappointing how the West, this free world, chose to go this direction of self-destruction and regression in civilization.
In a recent video, you stated nowadays not having problems is a problem. Can you go further on this?
Yeah, so I was going to school in New York, Manhattan. It's the wealthiest city in the world you can find. And the people who work in Manhattan are the investment bankers, consultants, like very established people. And these people are going to therapy. Like almost like at least 80-something% of my girlfriends was going to therapy regularly. And as a North Korean, I was saying, what is therapy, right? And they were like, oh, here you have problems, you go talk to somebody, you get help, emotional support. I understand therapy, that's a great thing if you can afford it. But I really realizing that actually not having a problem is a problem. Like this systemic oppression, it was there in the past. But we had a civil war, we had new laws. I'm telling them, do you know I was a slave? Like I was sold in this 21st century. Do you know that slavery didn't end with you guys? It's happening right now. There's modern slaves right now. Millions of people are being enslaved. The slavery is continuing. But for these people, they just don't want to accept that. I mean, slavery is happening in Africa right now. In China, I mean, everywhere is happening. That's very heartbreaking. It's not like I deny their suffering. I deny their hardship. Like, it's such a wrong thing. But the thing is, this country has made a lot of progress compared to a lot of other countries. And this country is willing to make a progress. So, yeah, that's that's my experience in America so far.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And, cancel culture may find its origin in America, but it seems to be spreading as well in other countries such as France, for example, even South Korea, which is a country well known for its netizens, right? Heard about this?
Yeah.
So how would you compare Western cancel culture and political correctness to what's happening right now in North Korea?
Obviously, there's no way you're gonna compare North Korea to what is happening in America. In North Korea, if you show any kind of dissent, not only yourself get punished, right? The 3 generations of your family get executed and or sent to prison camp. But in America, so far, if you use having an opinion that I have right now is, I get cancelled on social media platforms, I get blocked. Like we saw the President Trump, right? He got banned on Twitter, Facebook, Google, right? And I mean, of course, the consequences are different. I acknowledge that. But this is how it begins. This is a path to North Korea. When you censor people and when you cancel people for their ideas, for their beliefs. The beauty of democracy and freedom is that we let the ideas compete. And then whatever the best idea gonna win, right? This competition in different ideas, that's what makes civilization moving forward. That's what made the progress in us. But now they are wanting to one opinion that fits everybody. Everybody has to be politically correct, otherwise you are Nazi and bigot and racist. It's nonsense. Like, in the beginning, of course, North Korea wasn't this crazy. But they were going into that direction, and now they ended up in this, like, with one guy, Kim Jong-un became a god, and the remaining people don't even know they're oppressed. I see the signs of that rise to authoritarianism in America. In the West, in the Western Europe, I mean in France, in the UK, Northern Europe, I mean South Korea. It's a global thing right now. I think that freedom is being threatened globally. It's not just only the problem in the US exists.
Have you ever received threats for speaking out about this subject?
I mean, all day long, but the hardest thing was actually the people that I know personally, who were my friends for many years. Now they try to disassociate with myself, because now I came out saying I support freedom of speech, right? And they say, oh, now you are like siding with this corrupt capitalist white man. You're a Nazi, you're a bigot, you're racist. And I think that's very heartbreaking, how in America, because of you have a different political beliefs, that you cannot be friends anymore. It's so sad. Like, ideas are just ideas, and there's a humanity should be stronger with each other, with the connection that we have with each other. But I think in the division is so high, people cannot overcome that at this point.
Okay, amazing. And last question, you left North Korea seeking for freedom, yet you are experiencing this type of things related with freedom actually, such as freedom of speech. How do you feel about this?
Well, that's the thing. I literally thought my journey ended right when I came to America. I'm truly in a place where I am free. I knew that I wasn't free from Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un is trying to hunt me for the rest of my life, as long as I tried to challenge him. That I knew. But I did not know in America as an individual that I had to learn how to censor myself. Try to be politically correct. None of that I expected. I just now know even in America, I have to fight for my freedom of speech. Even in America, I have to fight for the belief that I hold to be true. So it is sad, there's really no place at this current world that is truly free. But the thing is, freedom that's a thing. It's a very valuable thing. You can never take it for granted. And I think thankfully, a lot of people in the Western countries now realizing, oh, I might get cancer tomorrow, right? Like, my children, if you do not think about this, our children's future is gonna be a lot darker than this. Of course, having a freedom of speech, we are gonna hear some crazy bigots and racists. We know that. That's not, we don't like to, of course, hear it. But the thing is, if we ban them and then ban this speech and that speech, then if we go that path, the price is so much heavier, which is becoming like North Korea. Nobody is free. And I think that's why nothing is perfect, but we shouldn't make that price in order for us to have the room, to be free and as individuals, I think.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
That was really, really, really interesting. Thank you so much, actually, for your time, for answering all those questions.
No, thank you for giving me this platform to share my story.
No problem. Where can we find you on the internet?
I have a YouTube channel as well. It's called The Voice of North Korea by Yeonmi Park. Instagram, Yeonmi Park NK, and Twitter, Yeonmi Park NK. So all like Facebook, everywhere, other than TikTok.
me neither, don't worry.
Awesome, I love that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bon, et bien les amis, du coup c'est terminé pour cette vidéo. Quand même une grosse vidéo, hein. Il y a beaucoup de termes qui ont été prodigués durant cette interview. Si vous avez aimé cette vidéo, s'il vous plaît les amis, mettez un énorme pouce bleu. Abonnez-vous également. Vous avez vu que je sors un petit peu moins de vidéos qu'avant, mais quand j'en sors, voilà, j'essaie quand même de sortir des vidéos impactantes. Vraiment, la vidéo d'aujourd'hui là, ouf, j'aime bien. Donc voilà. Sur ce, les amis, moi je vous dis, n'oubliez pas d'aller sur mon site, papsan.com, si les jolis tableaux derrière vous intéressent. Également, suivez-moi sur Instagram, il y a beaucoup de photos que je poste tous les jours. Et puis, voilà, moi je vous dis à la semaine prochaine pour une nouvelle vidéo. Probablement en rapport avec tout ce qui est Covid en Corée, passe sanitaire, tout ça. Parce que là, je vois que c'est un peu le zoo en France, là. J'ai l'impression de voir Mar contre Paradis, LDA. Ouh, là, c'est compliqué. Bon, merci les amis, et je vous dis à très vite. Ciao.